Sri Lanka में कृषि, डेयरी और फिशरीज
We are providing training in agriculture, dairy production and the fisheries industry. As part of these initiatives, Sri Lanka will be introduced to an innovative digital mapping system. Both countries are in complete agreement, especially concerning our shared defense goals. Our collaboration is strengthening and we are making swift progress in finalizing the activities under the agreement on defense cooperation. A key decision has been made to enhance defense collaboration and maritime surveillance, which will significantly contribute to regional security. We are confident that the Colombo Security Conclave will serve as an essential platform for both security and development. This framework will facilitate greater cooperation in areas such as maritime security, counter-terrorism, cybersecurity and the fight against organized crime, as well as strengthen humanitarian assistance and disaster response. The partnership between the people of India and Sri Lanka is grounded in a deep cultural and civilizational bond. India's introduction of the Pali language has elevated it to the status of a classical language, and Sri Lankans are actively studying it. We also have made progress in enhancing connectivity with services like ferry service and successful resumption of flights between Chennai and Jaffna. These efforts have bolstered our cultural ties. The launch of the ferry between Nagapattinam and Kankasanture is a notable success, and we are now preparing to introduce a similar service between Rameshwaram and Talaimanna. Through tourism focused on Buddhist heritage sites and the Ramayana Trail, we are creating new opportunities for Sri Lanka. We have discussed the livelihoods of fishermen and agreed to address these matters with a humanitarian approach. We also held discussions about the constitutional reforms and reconciliation process led by President Kumar Dissanayake, and he shared his vision and approach, which I fully support. We hope Sri Lanka will honor the aspirations of the Tamil people in the north and east. Through constitutional processes and provincial council elections, we anticipate our partnership will be publicly affirmed. I have assured President Kumar Dissanayake of India's unwavering support for the many initiatives aimed at Sri Lanka's development. India has full confidence in his leadership. We will continue to be a steadfast and reliable partner for Sri Lanka.
भरोसेमंद और विश्वसनीय पार्टनर बना रहेगा.
ශ්‍රී ලංකා පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ දැන් තනි ජනවරමක් යටතේ මෙතෙක් තේරිපත් වූ වැඩිම නියෝජිතයන් සංඛ්‍යාවත් සහිත පාර්ලිමේන්තුව බවට පත්ව සිටින
Sri Lanka's parliament now has the highest number of elected representatives under a single mandate. The overwhelming support extended by the people of Sri Lanka to the National Democratic Forces under my leadership marks a historic moment in the nation's history. The recent presidential and parliamentary elections have, for the first time, seen the emergence of a people's mandate and lays the foundation for a new political culture in Sri Lanka. This transformation has been made possible by the people of all regions, including the north, south, east and west, who contributed to this people's mandate. As the leader entrusted with such a significant responsibility, I firmly believe that the heart of democracy lies in the coexistence of various political ideologies and groups. Our cultural ties form a strong foundation for the relationship between our two countries. With the goal of strengthening people-to-people connections, we held discussions on expanding cooperation in the tourism sector. In the regional and multilateral context, I appreciated India's role as the leading state in the global south. Prime Minister Modi expressed India's full support for Sri Lanka as chair of the IORA. I also requested Prime Minister Modi's continued support for Sri Lanka's aspiration to become a member of the BRICS organization. Regarding Sri Lanka's submission to the United Nations Commission on the limits of the continental shelf concerning the establishment of boundaries beyond the exclusive economic zone, I requested Prime Minister Modi's assistance in convening bilateral technical discussions on the matter at the earliest opportunity. I also expressed my appreciation for the recent meeting of the 6th meeting of the Joint Working Group on Fisheries, which focused on promoting sustainable solutions to fisheries-related issues. We discussed the need for a collaborative approach to resolve these challenges, recognizing the environmental harm caused by illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing activities, especially bottom trawling. I urge the cessation of such practices which result in irreversible ecological damage. I am pleased to announce the exchange of MOUs to prevent double taxation and strengthen capacity building of government officials. I also invited Prime Minister Modi to visit Sri Lanka at a mutually convenient time to further strengthen our relationship. I assured Prime Minister Modi that Sri Lanka will not allow its territory to be used in any way that could compromise India's security or the stability of the region.
අමාත්‍ය මෝදි මැතිතුමාට ආරාධනා කළා. ඉන්දියාවේ ආරක්ෂාවටත් කලාපයේ ස්ථාවරයට හානිදායක වන කිසිදු ආකාරයකින් සිය භූමිය යොදා ගැනීමට ශ්‍රී ලංකාව ඉඩ නොදෙන බවට මා ඉන්දියානු අග්‍රාමාත්‍යතුමාට පොරොන්දු වුණා. සහතික වුණා.
That concludes the press statements. Thank you for your presence, ladies and gentlemen.
Memorandum of Understandings on the avoidance of double taxation and capacity building for government officials were exchanged in the presence of the leaders of both countries. On behalf of Sri Lanka, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Sri Lankan High Commissioner to India were involved in the process. On the Indian side, the discussions included the Minister of External Affairs and the Secretary of the Ministry of External Affairs. Before the discussions on these agreements, President Dissanayake and Prime Minister Modi held bilateral talks, which were attended by Sri Lanka's Minister of Foreign Affairs Vijitha Herath, Deputy Minister of Economic Development Professor Anil Jayantha and others. On the Indian side, the discussions included the participation of the Minister of External Affairs Dr. S. Jaishankar, the Secretary of the Ministry of External Affairs Vikram Misri and National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. The discussions also focused on strengthening Sri Lanka's ties with India by establishing electricity grid connections and a multi-product petroleum pipeline. These initiatives aim to provide technical support to Sri Lanka in the areas of physical, digital and energy infrastructure, marking a new chapter in bilateral relations with a forward-looking vision. Both leaders had in-depth discussions on advancing Indian development cooperation projects. This includes support for upgrading the signalling system on the Anuradhapura railway line and upgrading the Kankasanture port. Under India's educational cooperation program, scholarships for 200 students from universities in Jaffna and the Eastern Province are said to be provided monthly starting next year. Prime Minister Modi also agreed to train 1,500 Sri Lankan civil servants in India over the next 5 years. Prime Minister Modi hosted a luncheon in honor of President Dissanayake. During the meeting, President Dissanayake extended an invitation to Prime Minister Modi to visit Sri Lanka.